And welcome back to the Old Gav Box podcast and radio show, all brought to you by our friends at Casa de Campo in the Dominican Republic. Check out casadecampo.com. Golf vacay, family vacay, combo vacay. They roll out the red carpet. It is so nice. Best golf resort in the Caribbean. They'll cut the ribbon and reopen Teeth of the Dog December 15th. That is one of 4 Pete Dye gems. Jerry Pate's been involved in the redo. I'll be down for that. Check out casadecampo.com. All right, time now for the Pigskin Prognosticator of prodigious proportions. And if you listen to us every week, you just might wake up Monday morning independently wealthy. All right, best teams to bet on so far: Florida State 3-0 against the spread, Texas Tech, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt all 4-0 against the point spread over the first month of the season. Worst teams to bet on: Kansas State, Virginia Tech, Clemson, all 0-4 against the point spread. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. All right, the game I really like, I'm just intrigued by Notre Dame at Arkansas. The Hogs have lost a couple of heartbreakers. Somehow they found a way to lose to Ole Miss, and last week to Memphis on late fumbles. They were in position to kick a game-winning field goal on like the 5-yard line inside a minute when they fumbled last week. So this is a big one for Sam Pittman, the head coach, the beleaguered and beloved head coach at Arkansas. Everybody loves Sam, but he needs to win this one. Doesn't beat Notre Dame, and I do believe a change is imminent at Arkansas. As for the Irish, though, you lose this game and you're out of the playoff picture. There's no question about that. With 3 losses, Notre Dame wins this one. They go home for 4 of the next 5 in South Bend, and you look at the schedule thinking, you know what? Notre Dame could technically run the table. And here's the deal. Again, Notre Dame favored by 4.5. If you watch the Texas A&M game, Notre Dame's defense got pushed around. There's no doubt about that. Arkansas has a really good offensive line that's been on display and a really good rushing attack. I like Arkansas getting the points. I think Notre Dame could win a squeaker, but I just think the best bet is Arkansas and those 4.5 points. Meantime, Big Ten action. USC, the Trojans, are undefeated. They are at Illinois. Have you seen Jaden Miava, the quarterback for USC, yet? I stayed up late last Saturday night to watch him against Michigan State. Talented kid. He's fitting right into the Lincoln Riley system. USC's defense is better. There's no question about that. And that inexplicable loss for Illinois, 63-10 at Indiana. How things got so far off the tracks in that second half, getting outscored 42-0 in the second half. Amazing. Luke Altmaier, the quarterback for Illinois, coming off his worst game, again, back at home. The problem with Illinois, though, and it was exposed by Indiana, they have one of the worst pass defenses in college football, currently ranked 86th. And I think USC takes advantage. I think USC covers that 6.5 in Champaign, Illinois. All right, Utah State at Vanderbilt. A who cares game, right? No, you caught the top of the show. Vanderbilt 4-0 against the point spread. A very talented Vanderbilt team, 1 week away from coming to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. It's a 22.5 point spread, and I think they cover. I think Vandy blows out Utah State to go 5-0 in the season and 5-0 against the point spread. If you bet on Vandy up to this point of the season, you are undefeated. Meantime, speaking of undefeated, number 1 ranked Ohio State at Washington, and Ohio State is an 8-point favorite in this football game. The Buckeyes were off last week. They're 3-0. They're well rested. Some of their injured guys who got banged up a little bit in the early games are all going to be back. You know what's interesting? Washington is also undefeated. And if you look at all the computer models, and I check all the various entities that have their computer models, and it came out 69% had Ohio State winning this game. 9%. Again, they're favored by 8. 21%, only 21% had them covering the 8 points. I mean, Washington has been somewhat of an overlooked team. I think Washington at home where crazy things happen, I think they keep it close. And I like the computer model. I think Washington and 8 points is just too good to pass up. Meantime, cowbells will be ringing in Stark Vegas. Mississippi State hosting Tennessee. Nice to see those two schools get back together. Tennessee has dominated this series. They are favored in this game by 7.5 points. Again, Mississippi State 4-0, 4-0 against the spread. They haven't been 4-0 since 2014. Now, the best team they played, obviously, is Arizona State up to this point. They scored in that wild long pass play at the end of the game, and it was maybe the best play so far this season in college football. Tennessee has looked good offensively. Joey Aguilar, a talented quarterback. Tennessee loses this game. They go 0-2 in the Southeastern Conference. Again, Tennessee's defense is not great. We saw that against Georgia. They gave up a lot of big plays, especially there in the fourth quarter. I just think Tennessee has enough to outscore Mississippi State that has a good offense in their own right. I think in one of these crazy high-scoring games, 48-40, 45-35, something like that, Tennessee covers in a high-scoring Lollapalooza against Mississippi State. All right, how about this one? There's so many good games on Saturday. We also have the Ryder Cup, by the way. But Oregon at Penn State. Oregon is number 6. Penn State ranked number 3 at this point of the season. It's going to be a whiteout. They always do that at Beaver Stadium for the night game where it's a complete whiteout and everybody's jumping up and down and the stadium's shaking. It is quite the atmosphere. And this arguably is James Franklin's best team since he's been at Penn State. Nicholas Singleton right now and a couple of talented tailbacks who alternate in and out. Nice running game for Penn State. They really do have a nice offense, nice balance between the pass and the run. Dante Moore is the freshman quarterback for Oregon who's looked really good all home games up to this point. I just think this will be a tough christening for him going on the road at Beaver Stadium. A rematch of last year's Big Ten championship game that Oregon won. A lot of these guys are back from both sides, but I think the fact you have the inexperienced quarterback on the road for the first time is going to be a big factor. I like Penn State covering in that game. They're favored by 3.5 points. Meantime, LSU at Ole Miss. Here's the question in this one. Ole Miss favored by 1.5, by the way. It's basically a pick 'em game, but my question to you is, LSU really the third best team in college football? They're ranked number 3. If you believe that, go with LSU and go there with a lot of confidence. We'll see if they can get it done there in Oxford. On the other hand, Ole Miss has looked really good up to this point. And, they're 4-0, and they have 2 quarterbacks. Austin Simmons was 2-0 before he got hurt. And now Trinidad Chambliss, the transfer from Ferris State, a Division II school, he's done a really, really good job so far. As of this taping, Lenny Kiffin hasn't named the starter. We're assuming he's going to stick with Chambliss. I don't think it matters who plays, but Chambliss has been really good. I think Ole Miss is at home. Favored by 1.5 is just too much to pass up, and I think LSU is overrated. Meantime, Auburn at Texas A&M. The Aggies favored by 6.5. Man, Auburn, talk about 2 tough weeks in a row. First SEC game for the Aggies. We saw the Notre Dame game, 41-40, terribly exciting in that one. The Aggies defensive line, not nearly as good as the Oklahoma defensive line, and the Sooners may have the best D-line in college football. But what I'm saying is Auburn is going to be able to run the football. I don't think there's any question. They're going to be able to run the football in this game. And I think Cam Coleman, the wide receiver for Auburn, he's an NFL guy. He's going to be in the league a long time. They need to get him the football, and I think they will. I think Auburn runs the football, moves the football much easier than they did against Oklahoma. I like Auburn getting 6.5 in this game against Texas A&M. All right, where's my Alabama notes? The Crimson Tide at Georgia. Since versus top 15 teams in Athens, the Bulldogs are 6-2 against the point spread. How about this? 17 night games in Athens under Kirby Smart. The Bulldogs have never lost. They're 17-0. They're 9-8 though against the point spread. They usually play some pretty good teams there in those night games on ABC, ESPN. Kalen DeBoer, 9-0 at home as the Alabama head football coach. 7-2 against the spread in Tuscaloosa. 2-5 on the road, Kalen DeBoer, since he's been at Alabama. 2-5 against the point spread. So Alabama has never looked great on the road under Kalen DeBoer, and now they have to go to Georgia, a place where Kirby's never lost at night. Although Kirby hasn't covered, but 9 out of 17 times. The Georgia secondary showed some gaps against Tennessee. Joey Aguilar threw for big numbers in that game. And I just don't think, even though you have a week off, you can just fix those problems. I think Ty Simpson has looked fantastic as the Alabama quarterback, especially after the opener against Florida State. My Alabama friends, and I was again on Tide 100.9 with Barry and Coach Sanderson last Monday, and they thought I was crazy going with Alabama, but I'm going to take Alabama and 3 on the road. And I think Alabama continues to be a thorn in the side of the Georgia Bulldogs. I just see it happening, and that's the night game, or at least till we watch the late game, BYU Colorado. But I can't wait for this Saturday in college football. Remember, if you listen to us, you wake up Monday morning independently wealthy. Again, it's the Pigskin Prognosticator of prodigious proportions.